Harley-Davidson, the next big company to get a boycott for its DEI policies. Well, we've got this Robbie Starbuck. He's got about 500,000 followers on Twitter, X, which is formerly known as Twitter. And he's come up with a laundry list of stuff. And we're going to get into that he is saying, hey, Harley-Davidson of all companies is just woke. Go woke, go broke. And here we are. Let's jump on into it. Let's get going. Harley-Davidson sparks boycott call for going totally woke with DEI policies. Harley-Davidson became the latest major brand to face backlash over its diversity, equity, and inclusion, with the conservative online influencer calling for a boycott of the iconic motorcycle maker. Now, we don't have a boycott in place, but he's calling for one. And if the laundry list of stuff is true, then yeah, it is. It's not good. But you know what? This is one of those things where Starbucks is not Starbucks, not Robbie Starbucks, but Harley-Davidson has been doing this, and all of these companies have been doing this, and not even all that quiet on the down low. You know what I mean? They've got this stuff out there, you know, and they're supporting all of these LGBTQ causes, and you're like, what is going on here? Well, it's their corporate score on the whole DEI thing. Are we going to get a good score? Just, you know, are all the cool kids are going to like us? We've seen what's happened with Tractor Supply. We've seen what's happened with John Deere. John Deere is the one that just kills me. It's like, talk about companies that should have nothing to do with any of this nonsense, because they're agricultural related. They're farm related. Last week, Starbuck, a former GOP candidate for congressional seat in Tennessee, organized an online campaign that forced John Deere and Tractor Supply to walk back its DEI initiatives. I think this is great, because this DEI stuff, it's got to go. You know what I mean? This massive focus on this, because you're not making these companies better. You're not maximizing shareholder value. You're doing the opposite. You're picking people based on their race or their sexuality and just throwing that out there. It's the greatest thing ever. And it's just not. It's just not. We've proven this time and time and time again. So we refer to this as getting Bud Lighted. Let's check out this. Bud Light boycott affects Endure, brand drops to third place. Bud Light is now third behind Modelo, number one, which is okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, I guess so. This is, you know, most beer consumed in the United States. Now, number two is Michelob Ultra. Yes, Michelob Ultra. That is how far Bud Light has fallen from its place atop all of this. Let's you know what? I want to watch the first couple of minutes of Robbie Starbuck's video, and he walks through it, and then we're going to talk about the actual bullet points.
Y'all, this may be the most shocking expose that I've done, simply because the brand is so out of alignment with their customers. This is Harley-Davidson. It's time for them to be exposed. In Harley's words, they are all in on diversity and inclusion. Now, let's take a look at what that means. I wonder how many Harley riders are aware that Harley-Davidson is a platinum founding member of the LGBT Chamber of Commerce in Wisconsin. This is the same chamber that says on behalf of the businesses that are a part of the Wisconsin LGBT Chamber, they oppose banning transgender sex changes for children. Harley-Davidson even hosted an LGBTQ plus boot camp at their corporate offices, and look at that sweet cake they got them. Isn't that just so inclusive? Here's a closer look at that cake for all you Harley riders out there. So who's Harley-Davidson's CEO? Well, it's another CEO that was placed right around COVID.
Jochen Zeitz is an unusual choice to lead Harley-Davidson. He's German. He's an outspoken climate activist.
The businessman who uses his millions to change opinions on climate change. Are you getting Harley-Davidson vibes yet?
In 2030, that we should be completing that total transformation of the company.
If his goal is the total transformation of Harley-Davidson, well, he's well on his way. They sponsored this LGBTQ plus Pride event where they had a rage room. And I am not joking, something called a rage room to quote, let off steam. It was located right next to the story time area for children to interact with drag queens and the play catch with a dad for all those who had daddy issues. In Harley's so-called sustainability report, they also say that their 1,800 global employees completed a virtual training to learn what an ally is to the LGBTQ plus community, and that employees also participated in an engaging and interactive learning session that allowed them to explore social identities, both seen and unseen. We all know what that means. And then again, in honor of National Coming Out Day, employees attended a virtual session featuring Sandy Eichel. Let's see who Sandy is.
Sandy Eichel is not your typical financial services speaker. Once a Lutheran pastor's wife, a professional opera singer, and a consummate perfectionist, Sandy had the picture-perfect life. But inside, she was miserable. So she chose a new last name, a new career, and a whole new life and mindset, which elevated her to the top of her profession.
We have to change our culture, and we need to do it quickly.
In their sustainability report, their CEO also brags about their 90 out of 100 HRC CEI score. This score is one I've explained many times before, but essentially is the Trojan horse that pushes all these left-wing values into corporations. And this score begs the question, is Harley-Davidson's health plan covering the transition of children? That's one of the metrics that the HRC CEI score judges. And if you're a Harley-Davidson dealer, guess what? They've got a plan for you heading into 2032. They want to increase the diversity across the global dealer network at both the staffing and owner-operator levels. That's a fancy corporate speak way of saying less white people. I think it's important to note at this.
So Robbie goes on to basically list a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about, but those are kind of some of the bullet points of, where Harley-Davidson is going. Will a boycott happen? That's the next big question, right? Will a boycott happen? I've had a number of you already go ahead and send me, hey, this is Harley-Davidson. F around and find out. This is what's going on. According to Starbuck, Harley-Davidson organized an LGBTQ entrepreneurship boot camp at its corporate offices in Wisconsin. Let's get down to the, where is that list? You know what? It's right here. Yeah, here's the Twitter feed. Here's some of what we found. Here's what Harley-Davidson supports. Openly supports the Equality Act, which would allow men into girls' bathrooms, sports, and locker rooms. Man, I am a hard no-go on anything to do with that. You got a male and a female bathroom, and I don't care what they identify as. If you got a male and a female bathroom, that's no-go. That's no. Big no on that one. I mean, what are we even thinking there? But they identify as... No, if you have male genitalia, you go in the men's locker room. You go in the men's. Because we saw what happens when, Planet Fitness, Earth to Planet Fitness. Women don't want to share locker rooms with faux females. Fake females. No, they don't. HD, Harley-Davidson funded an all-ages pride event that featured a rage room. Have you guys heard of this? The rage room where they go in and everybody just lets off steam. I mean, do you really need that? I mean, if you watch the libs of TikTok, you will see some of these folks clearly need this kind of outlet because they've got something going on where they're just mad and they're angry and they're confused and they just need to go into that rage room. And then, huge rage room next. And the rage room was, like Robbie was saying, was next to the drag queen story time. Drag queen story. Why are we always reading to children? Why are the drag queens reading to children? I don't understand that. I mean, how about you go read to a bunch of Harley-Davidson riders? What about that? How about you find a Harley-Davidson dealership that wants to set up drag queen story time? Because the big issue here is most Harley-Davidson riders, most Harley-Davidson dealerships, most Harley-Davidson employees are not down with all of this silliness. They're just not. This is corporate. This is a CEO that should be let go. And he wants Harley-Davidson to go electric. I mean, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That's the whole point of Harley-Davidson. You get that, that big rumble, right? I had to look up, I looked up the movie Easy Rider because I was kind of curious over those Harley-Davidson motorcycles, and they were not. They were some brand I'd never heard of, but if I was a bike guy, I probably would have. The other one was a Norton. So no Harleys there, but that's kind of, what you have in mind is, is those kind of guys, not the hippies, but, the Hells Angels riding around on their bikes, right? 1,800 employees had to do virtual training on how to become LGBTQ plus allies. What a bunch of why? Why? LGBTQ is what, 1% or less of the population? Why are we doing this? Founding member of Wisconsin's LGBTQ plus Chamber of Commerce. This chamber opposed the law, banned sex changes. They sponsored an LGBTQ plus entrepreneur boot camp. The woke CEO, Jochen Zeitz, signed the CEO Action for Diversity and Inclusion pledge. Well, yeah, that's not working all that well for a number of companies, right? Number of companies, most notably Tractor Supply and John Deere. It's not going well. Made February and March months of inclusion, because apparently Pride Month isn't enough. And how did Pride get in a whole month? Veterans Day, as the name goes, is one day. How did Pride get a full month? And then Harley-Davidson says, "Oh yeah, but no, that's not good enough. We need to run that in February and March, the entire month." So you've got 90 days. You've got a third of the year dedicated to LGBTQ inclusion and all this. It's just a bunch of virtue signaling, isn't it? I mean, it's just virtue signaling at its finest. And to have a company like Harley-Davidson, they've been woke for a long time. And they're just going further down this roadway. And I'm kind of excited to see, will this end up in a real boycott, like the Bud Light, go from to Yeah. Multiple woke United Way trainings. I talked a couple of days ago. I'm in the middle of renewing my real estate broker's license, my managing broker's license, and I'm doing some continuing ed. And man, I am just bogged down in a bunch of, here's racism and we're all racist and this is what we need to do to move forward. I mean, it is just a bunch of virtue signaling, has nothing to do with today's real estate. It's all this stuff that happened way back when, which it was an issue. But we've kind of moved past that, because even in Seattle, you've had all the racist stuff taken out of the deeds and of the recordings. They've erased history. Let that stuff sit there so it's a reminder. Okay, we don't want to do that, but moving forward, we're on a better path. Let's get going. But let's not sit here and just absolutely focus on it 24/7 and have 90 days out of the year dedicated to whatever. They donated millions to United Way, who made the United for Equity program, where they promote Ibram Kendi, the woke children's book, Anti-Racist Baby, Awake to Woke to Work, a podcast on the concept of whiteness, woke activist Robin DiAngelo, bigotry against Christians who supposedly have Christian privilege, and more. Like I was saying yesterday, it's all this stuff is against white people. It's against Christians. It's against conservatives. If we were truly to be inclusive, those folks would be, included, but they're not, because this is literally, racism and bigotry at its best. All right. These people are white. These people have white privilege. Get rid of them. Yeah. We don't need them anymore. We need more of everybody else, just because it's the ultimate in, excluding some and including others. It's wild to see, but this has been going on for a long time, right? But what's interesting is when it gets called out, and we're calling it, getting Bud Lighted, because Bud Light with Dylan Mulvaney, that was a wild one. Sent some white male employees to a white male only woke diversity training program. What a pain that would have been, right? I mean, you got people making their careers at Harley-Davidson, and all of a sudden they got to do this silliness and go to this training. Hey, you're white. Yeah, I noticed. You know what? I've been white since I was born. Weird, right? Harley-Davidson is openly working to have less white suppliers, dealers, and employees. I'm sure that will work out just fine, right? And that's where so much of this is, didn't earn it. DEI didn't earn it. Just you're going down that road. Okay, let's just see how this goes because we believe, we've got a virtue signal that this is what we're doing. Harley-Davidson partners with the yearly Pride Ride. Okay. I mean, if it was like one event and it was a day, or maybe a week tops, okay, all right, whatever. But they go so overboard to virtue signal, oh, this is all the things that we're doing. How about you support your customer base? Like we're going to talk about in a second, where Tractor Supply and John Deere recognize, you know what? We're going to focus on selling us some tractors. We're going to focus on getting back to our agricultural roots. Those kinds of things. And it's like, you mean like your business plan has been for each of those companies for 100 years? I don't know how long John Deere's been in business. A long time, right? You mean you're going to go back to that? You're going to actually focus on what your customers, what your core audience is involved with instead of this crazy. I mean, you're talking about farming, talking about Harley-Davidson. Guys riding Harleys in the 60s, if they could be transported, and then some of you, were probably there, transported to 2024 and you're like, what? Why are we doing this? This makes absolutely no sense. And it doesn't, because it's just a bunch of virtue signaling. Got to get that score up. I was going to go, the HRC EEIC, that stands for the Human Rights Campaign, and it's the Corporate Equity, what was it again? Corporate Equity Index. Corporate Equality Index. All these things. It's like, what? Why are you even doing that? That makes no sense. But that is like Robbie talked about, that is the benchmark by which all of these companies are judged. And that kind of tells you something right there, except there's this massive trend right now to go the opposite direction because it is not working out. They hosted LGBTQ events at the corporate office. I'm sure that went over well. Harley-Davidson celebrated their legal department taking a woke 21-day racial equity and literacy challenge, which included speeches like Black Panthers, White Lies, Black Lives Matter speech, and a Ta-Nehisi Coates case for reparations. Reparations are never going to happen. It's just not. Everybody's got a huge budget deficit, and yet you got all these case studies going on. It's just, there's no room in the budget. That's just not happening. But that's a whole nother story, right? LGBTQ and race-based identity ERG groups. Yeah. Sounds like Harley-Davidson. They went down the real woke. I had no idea. I had heard, you should hear about Harley-Davidson. And you're always like, Harley-Davidson, there's no way. Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is. And we're talking about it. A total commitment to DEI policies, 90 out of 100 CEI score from the HRC. There's that score. That's what's going on. Oh, we got to get a high score. So, what's going to happen to Tractor Supply? What's going to happen to John Deere when their score drops? Because they've literally ditched, all of this silliness. Other companies recently, Microsoft, they gave up one of their divisions. Yeah, it's not really going to exist, the way that we, had planned out. Plus, we're just going to absorb that DEI division. CNN did the exact same thing. You've got company after company after company going down this road of, you know what? Our consumers aren't on board with this. They don't like having this stuff jammed down their throat. And they are essentially rebelling against, they're not buying our stuff. And I would love to see this happen to Harley-Davidson from the standpoint of, all right, you guys want to, go woke, get broke? Then here you go. Let's have a little a little rally and pull a Bud Light. So here's those other companies I was talking about. John Deere turns back on wokeness, rejects DEI policies. Now they are committed to our customers. Committed to our customers. They've literally all come back and said, you know what? We've decided that, it's while it's important and we're still going to have a focus, just not a daily focus on the whole DEI thing. We're not going to do that. We are now committed to our customers. Are you saying that before, when you went down this whole roadway of wokeness, that you weren't committed to your customers? Kind of seems like that, doesn't it? Yeah. Because when your customers are farmers and people, producing food and everything that goes into that, how can you be this whole woke thing? Don't see a lot of farmers, flying the pride flag, do you? No, they fly the flag of the United States, or here in Washington State. It's a great example. And I've talked about this a bunch. Western Washington is as woke as anything, right? I mean, everybody knows it. Yeah, all these cities up and down the west side of from Bellingham to Seattle, to Tacoma, Seattle being the most particularly woke. And, Pride is just a massive, massive event here, month of June. It's just all about Pride. You know what I mean? But you drive 45 minutes, you get over the mountain pass, the Cascade Mountains, about 45-minute drive from where I'm sitting here right in Bellevue. You get over the mountain pass, you start to get into farmland. There's no pride flags being flown. There are Trump flags. There are Trump signs. It's Trump country, right? It's Trump country. So these folks that try and tie their companies into this ridiculous, into these DEI shenanigans, they're figuring out, oh, yeah, maybe this isn't working out. All right, we are committed to our customers. Oh, so you weren't before. Interesting. How's that working out for you? Tractor Supply. That was John Deere. Tractor Supply ends woke DEI climate change policies after boycott campaign. And, a company like Harley-Davidson, Tractor Supply, and John Deere, those are not exactly companies that should be focusing on the whole climate change, right? Focus on your clean water. Focus on your whatever it is. I remember there was a couple of terms that I think John Deere said that it was we're going to get back to the basics. And we're going to be going and looking at this. Not so much of that climate change. The climate change deal to me, I mean, that's just a way to kind of control society, right? Climate change is real important. I remember, Joe Biden, in his last State of the Union address, he basically stated, hopefully that, we'll be off of gas cars, oil run cars, fossil fuel cars, within the next 10 years. And I was like, who are we kidding here? That's never happening. And Harley-Davidson, so it's the CEO. Yeah, we're all going to go electric. Well, anybody can buy an electric vehicle with an exploding battery. Anybody can do that, but that's the whole point, that you get a Harley and you modify that exhaust. And when you take off from your garage, you're that suburban warrior on your bike, right? That's the whole concept, because you want to get on a bike that's got that throaty exhaust and just let it rip. And when you when you merge onto the freeway, you're going to be that guy. You're not going to go real fast, but you're going to open that bad boy up and you're going to let it roar. Electric Harley? Not so much, right? Not so much. Yeah. There's none of that. So this whole concept of going to electric vehicles, I mean, electric scooter. Okay. But we're not talking about electric scooter companies. We're talking about Harley-Davidson. Yeah. The guys who got kind of worked up about having to wear a helmet. I don't want to wear a helmet. All right. You lay your bike down and whack your head and you're going to be done. I had a motorcycle when I was in college, post-college. It was a Kawasaki EX500. So it was a 500 series. It was a super bike, whatever those were. It was like a Ninja, right? It was a Ninja. And the last time I rode it, I remember I was in Dallas. I was in Irving. It was probably like midnight. I'm riding on a back road because they're wide open. I'm probably 19, 20. And I remember looking down at the speed or at the speedometer, and I was doing 119. And I remember thinking, woof, if I like hit an animal out here at night or something goes sideways, I'm probably toast. Or I'm going to have some real extreme road rashes because I was in like t-shirt and shorts and thinking, this isn't the smartest thing I've ever done. I was wearing a helmet, but this is just not that bright of a move. And that's the last time I really rode a motorcycle. And so that's my motorcycle story. I ended up selling that bike and, moved on. But it was super fun riding a bike around in Dallas. But it wasn't a Harley. The Harley is a different thing. Harley is more, it's just got that history of badass and loud and guys who work on Harleys. They're manly men, right? They're not worried about climate change. Could care less. But that's not the way that Harley-Davidson has gone. They've gone down a wildly different route. And I hope that they get absolutely, trashed, because that's what it's going to take to move some of this stuff back for consumers to have the companies that they rely upon go down actual roadways that benefit them, committed to our customers. Now we're back committed to our customers. John Deere announced it'll be scuttling nearly all its diversity, equity, and inclusion policies in favor of a quality-based workforce. So quality-based workforce here, DEI-based workforce here, because you didn't earn it. And, some of our greatest DEI hires right now, some would say, are the Secret Service director, who had to step down on Monday. Interesting. And then you've got Kamala Harris. Look at her record as an attorney general, attorney general for state of California. I mean, how'd she get there? One word, Willie Brown. That's 2 words, but one name. How about that? One name, Willie Brown. Willie Brown. Somebody said, I don't know if you guys know who the Haktua spit on that thing girl is. Yeah. Well, anyway, some are saying that Kamala Harris is the original Haktua spit on that thing. And if you haven't seen that video, you don't need to watch it, but you get the idea. It's in reference to, spit on that thing. And, Kamala Harris is the original with that, doing that with Willie Brown. Some would say, because the records, that didn't earn it. But, you're earning it, but not based on a skill set that is required by your job, which is being a really good district attorney and getting things done. What has Kamala Harris done as vice president? She was the unofficial czar of the border and southern border. How did it? And then now she's backing that off and saying, no, I was trying to get to the root causes of immigration in these, countries down in Central America and South America. It's like, all right, it doesn't take a genius to figure that out. They've got a lot of political turmoil. They come here to the United States and we welcome them in. What do you think they're going to do? Why are they migrating here? Why are they all coming at once? Why have we let 8 million into the country or whatever it is? Why are they doing it? Well, it's not that hard to figure out, right? What you need to figure out is how to get that border a little bit more secure, like all those policies that Trump had. The southern border is probably the prime example of where, from a real estate appraiser standpoint, you've got a matched pair analysis, which is you compare one home to another home, and the difference in the sales price is typically quantified. If all other things are the same, the difference in a sales price is maybe it's a 2-car garage, and maybe that's a $10,000, extra over the house that doesn't have the 2-car garage. That's a paired sale analysis. And that's where you extract the adjustment for the 2-car garage. All right, this house has 2-car garage. This one doesn't. So it's about $10,000. In a perfect world, that works. But you can do a matched paired analysis between Trump's southern border policy and Joe Biden's border policy. It's night and day, right? And so what we're talking about is policy that doesn't work. And the whole DEI policy is becoming wildly unraveled. Just company after company after company. And Robbie Starbuck he's on a roll. He's on a roll. If he can get this one going, keep on going. Because consumers We are now committed to our customers, John Deere. We're back to being committed. I mean, we're committed. Yeah, we went down that crazy train for a little bit and that didn't work out. And, we had this whole ridiculous boycott and we got Bud Lighted and this is what's going on. What is really interesting is that the majority of big media will not cover these stories. You'll see very few stories. They'll be like, yeah, there was some consumer backlash with Bud Light, and we're not really sure why, because it wasn't a real campaign. I mean, they just put Dylan Mulvaney's face on a handful of Bud Light cans, and then everybody got all worked up. Well, you ran that as like a test ad campaign, and how'd that work out for you? How many billion in valuation did Bud Light lose? I mean, they're the third biggest beer now. Third. And they were numero uno. I mean, that is a massive, massive drop. And all of these companies are scared that this is going to happen to them. So now we're back committed to our customers. And you're like, why did you, well, because of that score, that corporate score. They got to keep in line. They got to be, cool kids on the block. But if enough of those companies recognize, oh, yeah, go woke, get broke. I mean, and, that saying kind of became wildly, utilized during the whole George Floyd thing. We had this massive push and so many of the companies got rid of their CEOs, brought in new CEOs because they wanted that look. And it's just like the director of the Secret Service. How did that work out? Some would say that she, was a DEI hire. She didn't earn it. There were other candidates that were far more qualified. And I don't know if her hearing on Monday was any indication of her skill as as the director of the Secret Service. But if it was, that hearing on Monday, this past Monday, ooh, that was not a good hearing. That was just, not good. Maybe the hearing wasn't on Monday. She stepped down on Monday, right? Was that right? Biden stepped down on Sunday and Secret Service was on Monday. Hearing was the prior week, I believe. Timeline, right? You've just had so much of this stuff go absolutely, hey, what's going on? What are we doing here? And now everybody's behind Kamala Harris. I think the honeymoon on that will be rather short-lived because I think you're going to see some polls come out and you'll see that big spike. Everybody's in for Kamala Harris. That's because she's the Hail Mary. She's the Hail Mary. And a lot of these companies, they were doing their own little mini Hail Mary. Let's just see how this DEI thing goes. We'll throw this out there and it should be fine. Well, how's that working out? This is an indicator of exactly what's going on. And it's not just John Deere. It's not just Harley-Davidson. It is Target. It is Zoom. There are so many other companies that have recognized, oh, yeah, we're going to get back to our customers. And like this article says, our customers' trust and confidence in us are of the utmost importance to everyone at John Deere. We fully intend to earn it every day and in every way we can. Well, that doesn't exactly mean supporting a whole bunch of LGBTQ if that's not in your business model. And if you want to support that, if you're a business that's in line with your value system, I say go full tilt, 100%. That's your thing. Go for it. But these other companies that are, supposed to have, a set of corporate morals that more align with their, customer base, then this has it should be nowhere to be found. Treat everybody equally, treat everybody, go down that road, instead of, got to have the white guys get some training because this is terrible. And you know what? Let's go ahead and let people that have male genitalia into the females' locker rooms. I'm sure that'll work out. It's kind of like in the prison system. If you identify as a female and you are still a man, you can get accepted in a prison. And then they wonder why they've got, some instances of rape. And then they've got some instances of the female population in prison getting pregnant. It's like, how did that happen? God, that is weird. That guy identifies, I'm sorry, not guy, that woman identifies as a woman, but she's got male genitalia. And yet What? Whole thing is just preposterous, right? It doesn't make any sense. And you're like, yeah, well, what did you think would happen when you're in closed prison population and you got somebody that's still got the goods and you got somebody else that wants the goods? Yeah, or maybe doesn't want the goods is the case, right? So all of this, just these policies that make no sense coming full circle, getting Bud Lighted and Harley-Davidson. We'll see. We'll see how this one goes. But what the stage that we're in on the Harley-Davidson is the accusations have been thrown out. Robbie Starbuck has called for a boycott. Where does it go from here? Because there's virtually no other stories on this beyond the New York Post. You've had a couple of folks say, all right, yeah, this is where we're headed with Harley-Davidson. We'll have to kind of wait and see, right? The jury is out because this is just at the beginning stages. And, but I think Robbie Starbuck is doing a great job just bringing this information to light because most people don't know. You know, they just assume that corporate values of Harley-Davidson, when I first started hearing about it, I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? Harley-Davidson of all companies. There's no way this is happening. Yeah, it is. It's some wild, wild stuff. So I am super happy to see some of this turn around because it's a reflection of, yeah, DEI policies do not work. Didn't earn it. It's just that basic. It's not that hard. You know, hire people based on merit, hire people based on their skill set. Oh, we're not doing that, Sean. Well, that's not really what we're doing. All right, that's fine. Then we'll see how it works out. How's that working out for Bud Light? Yeah, not all that well. Trace, right? Trace. They're in 3 position. All right. That's it for me on this one. Thank you all for joining. I'm glad we got through a live stream without massive flubs. I will check in with you on the next one, but we've got a number of these stories coming out, the DEI policies. So make sure you subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks again for being here. Bye for now.